So why did you get involved in politics?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for doing the interview. There's a lot of different reasons why people get involved in politics, and for me, it was kind of one of those childhood dreams, and I think a lot of kids do the same thing, and that winds up going away. But for me, I was inspired by a great mentor, and that mentor just happens to be my mom. And so, for those who don't know, my mom ran for office. She was the Braddock District Supervisor for a number of years, and now she's the chair of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. And so I had a firsthand, look at, how she did public service. And I always really just admired the way that she brought people together, and it inspired me to want to do the same thing. Two other things, one is I think most of us in office feel an overwhelming sense of obligation that we want to make the world better for future generations. It sounds kind of hokey, but it's true. You want to be part of that. But the last part is it's fun. I love problem solving. I love being able to bring people together. There's no better feeling in the world than when you get people to the table and you discuss an issue, you come up with how you're going to address that, and then you introduce people to the democratic process, and it's very fulfilling.
What is your most significant accomplishment to date that you consider?
So yeah, and that's a hard one because each year I put in 15 or 20 bills, and so after 14 years, there's a lot of stuff that you look back on, and almost everything is important to somebody out there, whether it's big or small. And so a great example is a safe sleep initiative that I put in. And so I didn't realize, or you don't really think about, how many babies die each year from SIDS because of their parents not knowing proper safe sleep techniques. And so I worked with a broad range of public interest groups and public health individuals. And so when new parents walk out of the hospital with their baby, they are now actually given information on what is safe sleep and how do you prevent SIDS. And so again, it's not something that made the front page of the Washington Post or even maybe even the Connection newspaper here locally, but it is something that makes a difference, right? Statistically, I know that babies have been saved because parents have gotten that kind of information. Probably though, my favorite piece of legislation, my favorite recent piece of legislation, deals with career exploration. And so one of the issues that Virginia and the nation are really dealing with right now is that we've got all these great technical jobs that pay well, but they don't require a four-year college education. And part of the problem is that students these days, they're on a track and they think I have to go to a four-year college or university, not even thinking about the fact that they could get an apprenticeship or they could get an industry certification and have a very meaningful, fulfilling career. And part of the issue is that they haven't been exposed to what these careers are. And so this was Politics Makes Strange Bedfellows, because I actually worked with labor unions and the Virginia Manufacturing Association to ask that we put in a course, a mandatory course in middle school on career exploration, because that's kind of the sweet spot where students start making up their minds and developing opinions and perspectives on careers. And so now, when a student goes through middle school in Virginia, they have to take a course in career exploration, just so that they have a better idea of what's out there, what do they want to do with the rest of their lives.
What is the most important piece of legislation that you want to bring up in the next General Assembly?
So that's also really, really hard. And Virginia's a great place. It's a great place to live and to work, but we got some pretty serious challenges ahead of us. And so, when you think about it, you got the issues of climate change, and environmental issues are very, very important to me. We're very vulnerable in Virginia to the effects of climate change, particularly in Hampton Roads, but also our agricultural sector is extraordinarily vulnerable. Gun safety, and so we just went through the beginnings of our special session on gun safety, and so there's some items that I think are very critical with respect to keeping our community safe in there. And Next year, we take the next critical steps on nonpartisan redistricting reform. And so in Virginia, a constitutional amendment, you have to pass that twice. We passed it the first time. We need to make sure we get that passed next year so it would go out to the voters. But, quite honestly, as far as me, I sit on the education committee. And so, we need to take that career exploration to the next steps. With respect to workforce development, statistically, a lot of the jobs we see today are going to be automated, and so you're not going to have people who are just unemployed, but they're going to be unemployable. And so I'm actually working right now with a commission of the Southern Region Education Board to put together legislation to help make sure that we are prepared for those shifts in our economy.
What is the question you're most frequently asked, and how do you reply to it?
So the question I get asked a lot is, how do you put up with the partisan rancor? and people often, when they ask that question, their main point of reference is Congress. And so kind of a related question is, would you ever want to run for federal office? And it's kind of like, I thought you were my friend. Why are you asking that question? It's tough. It's gotten very partisan. And so, people often equate that to, Virginia, that we're just down there fighting all the time. And we do have our partisan moments. And there are some very uncomfortable times. There's a lot of stuff that happens. But the nice thing is behind the scenes, we still work very well together. We consider each other family, particularly if there's a tragedy in one of our lives, we all rally around each other. And so again, I got asked a lot, how do you deal with that? And it's, because as a part-time legislature, and while we don't always agree and we drive each other nuts sometimes, we actually work for a common cause, and we take our jobs very, very seriously, and that's fulfilling.
And what advice would you give to students who want to get involved in the democratic process?
So my advice is just reach out. An elected official is going to care about their constituents regardless of what their age is. And I'll give you a great example. I had somebody who emailed me a question, and it was a really good question. It was a complicated one, and I went back and forth with this individual for about a month or so, trying to figure out a solution to this problem, and then finally met him in person. He was a high school student at Fairfax High School. And I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible. But it does give you the sense of, how impactful just simply the act of reaching out to your elected official is. And so, oftentimes people are like, well, my elected official, there's no way that he or she is going to have time to be able to meet with me or talk. All of us get involved in elective office because we love to sit down and problem solve. And so, for students, just don't hesitate to reach out. We absolutely want to be able to hear from you. And, if it's not your elected official, please get involved. Please get involved in your neighborhoods, your community, in civic engagement. A lot of wonderful groups, that are thirsty for new people, new blood to come in. And that's the foundation of our democracy. That's what's going to make it work for the future.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.